Okay, and the last part of verse 18, the same thing, kind of what we talked about earlier. Like, he sees us as his inheritance. Just as a man's wealth, like, why does a man want to have a ton of money? In a lot of ways, like, or so that glory is brought to his name. I mean, it's kind of all about himself. But in a sense, like, we, the church, God's given us these things so that we bring glory to his name, to the praise of his glory. I mean, the same thing that we've been talking about the whole time. It's kind of referenced down through there. That's, ultimately that's the purpose. And Paul's expressing that. The immeasurable greatness of his power toward us who believe, according to the working of his great might, that he worked in Christ Jesus when he raised him from the dead and seated him at the right hand in the heavenly places. I mean, it's also translated, what is the surpassing greatness of his power toward us who believe, according to the operation of the might of his strength. It's basically just talking about this eternal energy. The word working is energia. I mean, but it's like this eternal energy that we're given from God. It's through the Spirit. It goes on, he says that he worked in Christ when he raised him from the dead. I mean, it's just like the song, the same power that rose Christ from the grave lives in me. I mean, we think, well, in every situation, well, I can't do this, or, well, if I say this, what's going to happen, or if I talk to this person, or if I act like this around this person, what are they going to think? And he's saying, you're the same power that, in a lot of people, I mean, this is one of the verses where I go on and I think it's crazy for people who don't think that God in any, can heal people today or can do any of the things that he's done in the past, because the same power that brought Christ up, raised him from the dead, is the same power that we have access to. And, raising somebody from the dead's the biggest miracle you could do. So what's not possible through his Spirit, through the power that he's given us? I'm not going to go into that a bunch. I mean, I know there's a lot of different beliefs throughout the different denominations, but Paul is speaking of this power because we as believers are weak. I mean, us as people, we have to have this power. This is something interesting when, I think it's John Rockefeller, is that his name, the first billionaire ever? No, it's a Rockefeller. But it says, because of the stress of his wealth, he lived off crackers and milk for years and years, because in his own strength, he couldn't handle it. And it goes on, once he started giving his wealth away and helping charities, his health started to come back. But it's the same concept. God's wealth is more than any other wealth that we have. We can't handle it on our own. That's why he's given us the Spirit, so that we can access that wealth, but we can use it. That he gives us the power to know how to use it and to put it to use. Wiersbe put it this way: to turn this vast spiritual wealth over to a mere human, living by human wisdom and strength, would be like handing an atomic bomb to a 2-year-old. God's power is what enables us to use his wealth, and without it, we'd make a disaster of it. Same, we see this power in the resurrection of Christ in verse 20. We kind of went into that. And then verse 22 and 23, he put all things under his feet and gave him his head over all things to the church, which is the body, the fullness of him who fills all in all. And he's going on. It's a great reference to Christ being the head and us being the body, just like, the head controls, our brain controls what our body does. It helps us in any way that we need it. All the messages are sent up there when we're working properly. And that's what Christ is. Christ is supposed to be our head to the body of the church. And I could go on and on about how, this is a little off topic, but intelligent design and people who say that God didn't create these things. Well, God had this book written, and throughout it are examples. You can even look in creation and see all how it relates to God. Like the fact that our spiritual bodies, the way that we were made as created as human beings, relates exactly with how God, like created the system for Christ and us to work. And I mean, there's a ton of examples of stuff like that, but that's just something that was kind of interesting. But yeah, that was basically kind of all I had. I wasn't going to go. I didn't want to get into chapter 2. Obviously, we kind of agreed to a chapter a week, especially on the last part. But really, throughout any of it, anybody have anything they want to talk about? Anything you thought I said wrong or disagree with? That's what I really probably need to know before I teach this to a larger group of people who aren't my family.